everybody. Start that over. Okay, it's 9:05 and I'd like to welcome everybody, and it's Thursday, May 28th, 2026. Welcome everybody to the Community Action Advisory Board meeting for May. My name is Rob Perkins, serving as chair this year, and it's to go around, make some introductions, give your name, your position, and any other affiliations, or do that.
I can call roll call, and if people want to introduce themselves, feel
Say
free.
you're here, and if you're new, please introduce yourself.
Perfect. I think we have one new member, so, we'll
Let's do the rules.
introduce yourself. All right, first, is Diana Perez here? Don't see Diana. Sandra Zavala Ortega?
Hi, good morning. I'm Sandra Zavala. I'm on the school board for Vancouver Public Schools. Hope you're all having a great morning.
Thank you, Sandra. Rob Perkins?
I am here. I'm in District 3, elected official. My elected position is Evergreen Public Schools.
Great. Counselor Glenn Young?
Good morning, everybody. Glenn Young, serve on the county council.
Thank you. Katie Favela?
Good morning, Katie Favela, City of Ridgefield City Council.
Thank you, Katie. Bronwyn Clark? Not seeing Bronwyn yet. Emily Wilson?
Hi, my name is Emily Wilson. Sorry, my dog's first. I actually just started a new position with Imagination Libraries of Washington, and I am the low-income representative for District 2.
Thank you, Emily. Clover Spears?
Hello, I'm Clover Spears. I am the low-income representative for District 3. I work for EOCF, Educational Opportunities for Children and Families.
Thanks, Clover. Faye Solomoni? Does not look like Faye's online. Kit Curran is excused. Olga Johnson?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Olga Johnson. I'm District 2, and I'm representing Slavic community and immigrant community.
Thank you, Olga, and welcome to the cab. Nakia Hunter? I don't see Nakia. Rita Fallon?
Good morning. My name is Rita Fallon. I'm a District 4 Community Representative.
Thank you, Rita. And Brittany Lissane? I don't see Brittany yet. I think she's joining. Oh, and it looks like Bronwyn just hopped in. Bronwyn, if you want to introduce yourself.
Greetings, Brondalyn Clark here.
Thank you so much. All right, back to you, Rob.
So that constitute a quorum?
Yes, it does.
Okay, we can do our actions. All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the March 26th minutes. You should have received the minutes by email from Abby. Let's take a minute or two and go over them. Then I'll need a motion to approve the minutes or make some corrections. Back in 9:11.
Power on. Bluetooth mode.
Okay, does anyone need more time to look over the minutes? If not, action will require a motion.
This is Emily. I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, Emily Wilson has moved to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I second it.
I second.
Okay, there are 2 seconds. Having been moved and seconded, is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. For the voting here, I'd ask you, if you're online, to locate the raise hand icon. And if you're looking at my image, you can see the hand up. See that? And then if you click the raise button again, it'll take it down. Please raise your hand in the meeting. I'm the only one in person here who has voted, so we'll just use that. Please raise your hand if your vote is aye. And leave it up for me. Down here.
It's 7.
Let's see. 4, 6, 7. That's 11. Let's see it. Oh. Okay, motion carries. Thank you for your help. Yeah, I can't go. I gave it a 7. Are there any opposed? Raise your hand. Olga, I see your hand is up. Are you in opposition to approving the minutes? Okay, so the motion does carry. Okay, the next item on the agenda is informational from New Life Recovery Services SAT program update. Carl Robinson and Nikki Turner.
So good morning and thank you for allowing us to speak with you today. My name is Carl Robinson and I serve with New Life Recovery Services. We are a behavioral health and recovery focused organization serving individuals and families throughout Clark and Cowlitz counties. At New Life, we work with individuals facing substance use challenges, behavioral health barriers, housing instability, legal involvement, unemployment, and ongoing recovery needs. Many of the individuals we serve are working incredibly hard to rebuild their lives, but one of the biggest barriers they face is not willingness, it is access. Many of the individuals we serve are not struggling because services do not exist. They are struggling because they cannot consistently reach them. Transportation became the bridge between crisis and stability. Throughout the SAP program, we were able to help individuals access treatment appointments, medical care, housing appointments, court obligations, behavioral health services, food resources, and ongoing peer support. And what we learned very quickly was that transportation is not simply about moving someone from one location to another. Often that ride became a moment of encouragement, accountability, emotional support, care coordination, and reconnection to recovery. Today, we want to share the impact this program had on the people we serve, the outcomes we have seen, and why transportation continues to be such an important part of behavioral health stabilization and long-term recovery. Slide 2. I think that's the wrong slide. It should say one mission, many destinations. Go back. There you go. Okay, this slide really captures the heart of what this program became. When we first began transportation services, we thought primarily about helping people get from one appointment to another. But what we discovered very quickly was that transportation connects people to far more than destinations. It connects them to treatment access, to medical appointments that help stabilize physical and behavioral health, to housing appointments that can determine whether someone remains homeless or finds stability, to court compliance and accountability requirements that affect probation, recovery courts, and legal outcomes, to behavioral health engagement and ongoing recovery support, to food access and to other basic needs that directly impact overall wellness and functioning. And maybe most importantly, it connects people to relationships, encouragement, accountability, and hope. For many individuals, these rides became one of the few consistent supports in their lives. What may appear on paper as a transportation program often became peer support in motion. Conversations during rides became opportunities for emotional support, reminders about recovery goals, encouragement during difficult moments, and connection during times of isolation. This program helps remove one of the biggest barriers that exists in behavioral health systems, not the absence of services, but the inability to consistently reach them. Slide 3. This image really represents the core message of why this program matters. Many people assume that behavioral health systems fail because services are unavailable. But what we see every day is something different. The services often exist. Treatment exists, medical care exists, housing resources exist, behavioral health programs exist, but many individuals living in crisis cannot consistently access them. Transportation became the bridge between crisis and stability. On one side of this image, you see crisis, instability, untreated behavioral health needs, homelessness, relapse risk, isolation, and hopelessness. On the other side is stability, connection, accountability, treatment engagement, housing, health, recovery, and hope. What connects these two realities is access. And often that access begins with something as simple but as powerful as reliable transportation paired with supportive human connection. The words on the bridge, access, support, connection, and hope, reflect what this program truly provided. Sometimes the ride was where trust was built. Sometimes it was where someone fully agreed to enter treatment. Sometimes it was where someone was talked through a panic attack, relapse trigger, or fear of failure. And sometimes it was simply the first moment in a long time where someone felt seen and supported. Next slide. While the emotional impact of this program is important, we also wanted to demonstrate measurable outcomes and meaningful engagement. During this reporting period, the SAP transportation program supported 38 individuals and households across a wide range of behavioral health, recovery, medical, legal, and stabilization needs. 25 individuals were successfully transported to inpatient substance use treatment services. Following inpatient treatment, we completed 84 follow-up recovery engagement contacts to help individuals remain connected to care and reduce the risk of disengagement or relapse. In addition, the program provided 169 ongoing support interactions focused on stabilization, recovery engagement, appointment coordination, and community connection. Most importantly, what these numbers reflect is continued engagement. Many of the individuals we serve require ongoing support over time, not just a single ride or appointment. The transportation program allowed us to maintain consistent connection during some of the most unstable periods in people's lives. Next slide. One of the most important things we learned throughout this program is that recovery and stabilization is rarely a one-time interaction. Many of the individuals we served required ongoing transportation and continued engagement over time. Some individuals remained connected to services for weeks or even months through reoccurring rides to treatment, medical appointments, behavioral health services, housing appointments, court requirements, and recovery support activities. This repeated engagement became extremely important because consistency is often what helps prevent individuals from falling back into crisis. For many participants, transportation services also created trusted relationships with peer support staff. Those relationships became a source of accountability, encouragement, emotional support, and ongoing recovery engagement. This program was not simply about transportation volume, it was about sustained connection during periods of instability. Next slide. As the program continues, demand for transportation services steadily increase. Transportation requests came from individuals needing access to inpatient treatment, outpatient behavioral health care, medical services, court appointments, housing appointments, food access, and ongoing recovery support. Our transportation staff and peer support workers consistently worked to meet these growing needs across the community. What is important to recognize is that many of these individuals were experiencing significant instability. Many participants lacked reliable transportation, financial resources, stable support systems, or the ability to independently navigate complex service systems. Without transportation support, many of these appointments and opportunities would likely have been missed. This program helped reduce those barriers and improve continued engagement with services. Next slide. Excuse me. One of the most significant lessons from this program was recognizing that transportation itself often became part of the behavioral health intervention. During transportation encounters, peer support staff frequently provided emotional support, encouragement, de-escalation, appointment reminders, care coordination, and recovery-focused conversations. Sometimes rides involved helping someone feel safe enough to attend treatment for the first time. Sometimes it meant supporting someone immediately after a difficult court hearing or medical appointment. Sometimes it was simply making sure someone knew they were not alone. For many individuals, these transportation interactions became meaningful recovery touchpoints that strengthened engagement and reduced isolation. Transportation became peer support in motion. Next slide. Although the program has created meaningful impact, the need for transportation support continues to grow. We continue seeing transportation barriers connected to behavioral health access, housing stabilization, medical care, court compliance, and ongoing recovery engagement. Many individuals we serve continue experiencing financial instability, homelessness, untreated behavioral health conditions, co-occurring substance use disorders, and lack of reliable transportation options. Public transportation alone is often not sufficient for individuals in crisis or for those attempting to navigate multiple complex systems simultaneously. As referrals continue increasing from treatment providers, courts, behavioral health systems, and community partners, transportation remains one of the most important stabilizing supports we can provide. Next slide. Moving forward, our goal is to continue strengthening access, stability, and recovery support throughout our community. We believe transportation remains one of the most practical and impactful ways to improve engagement across behavioral health and recovery systems. Continued transportation support helps improve treatment retention, reduce missed appointments, strengthen recovery engagement, improve housing stability, increase accountability, and reduce crisis escalation. Most importantly, it helps individuals remain connected long enough for healing and stability to begin taking root. The impact of this program extends far beyond transportation itself. It creates opportunities for recovery, reconnection, and long-term stability. Next slide. On behalf of New Life Recovery Services, we sincerely thank the Community Action Advisory Board and everyone involved in supporting this program. The SAT Transportation Program has allowed us to meet people where they are during some of the most difficult moments in their lives. For many individuals, transportation became the first step towards treatment, stability, recovery, and hope. This program helps remove barriers that often prevent people from accessing the care and support they need to move forward. We are grateful for the opportunity to continue serving our community and strengthening recovery pathways for the individuals and families we support every day. Thank you for your time, your partnership, and your investment in this work.
Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome. Thank you.
On my agenda, I have Nikki Turner as well. Does Nikki have a portion of the presentation, or is this the whole thing?
This is it.
All right. Are there any questions for Carl on his presentation today?
I have a quick question. Does your organization do anything about like helping people get to jobs or like things like that? Because I know, like when I was helping out with like reentry work, like one of the main struggles for people was getting to and from jobs before they could get reliable transportation, or being, if they couldn't find a job like a bus line or something like that. Is that something that you all do?
So we work closely with Communities in Motion. So they do have a employment program that we were at first restricted to just our transitional housing program, but since we became a behavioral health agency, Communities in Motion is hooked up with us to provide that kind of transportation support for employment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? I think Ron would put something up there.
Oh, I just wrote it the track great presentation.
All right, thanks, Bronwyn. I did have a question, and it drills down a little bit into how this works. My question is that I guess you've got vehicles and drivers. Are there peer counselors in the van with the people you serve, or are the drivers also peer counselors? I'm kind of asking about what the qualifications are to serve in this way.
Yeah, so yeah, they're not state certified peer counselors, but they have gone through like recovery coaching and are working towards their state certification. So we have 2 drivers that drive vehicles, and while they're doing, and they keep logs too, so that because of those logs, we were able to capture all of this data. Because I wanted to really see how much more retention we would have by not just driving people around, but actually engaging in conversation and being a peer supporter, or I guess in real time. And I think that doing it this way has been really helpful to keep people, because I think we have some people that have been engaged for 5 to 8 months, right?
And I guess CAP has funding through the Human Service Fund.
Yeah, so this program is funded as part of the Community Action Program, Community Services Block Grant Funds. For this, most recent funding cycle, we added some human service funding into that pot just to create, a bigger portion that was allocated towards those anti-poverty fundings. But this did go through the RFA that we did.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And the contract amount of $71,000, does that encompass all of your costs, or do you have funding sources from others?
So we are working on other ways to support peer services, right? Because we are a behavioral health agency. And when right certifications come along, then we will tap into those, because like the need is probably twice as much as we have capacity to serve, at least right now. We've had therapeutic courts reach out to us, and if we really had the vehicles and the capacity, this would probably help some of their clients successfully complete their core obligations. So unfortunately, because we don't have the capacity to serve everybody, we sometimes have to turn people away, and it saddens me. So behind the scenes, working on other grants, we are adding more service lines to our treatment agency in order to hopefully fill in those gaps.
Thank you. How can individuals support you in this work?
Oh boy. Well, money is always a good thing. But really, I mean, support from any direction is always helpful. I since being involved in this, have realized just how much more important transportation this way is for those people that are in crisis, right? they need time to stabilize a lot of times in many different areas of their life. And if, you know, you look at Maslow's hierarchy and you've got, you know, just that food, housing, maybe throw transportation in there between that and the next level. I think that it's an important place to really, you know, work with people.
Thank you, Carl. Are there any other questions?
Yeah.
We have some guests with us in the next question.
Yeah.
I guess it's okay. So, yeah. Okay. This is Heidi from Indivisible Vancouver, who's here observing the meeting.
Yeah, hi, Carl. Thanks for your presentation. I was curious how people find you. Do they need to be referred to you, or do individuals reach out, or what happens there? And how do
Well,
you do
so-
your outreach?
Yeah, so what we did is we created flyers and we went to all the behavioral health agencies. We went to all the court systems that we work with. I believe jail reentry, we are starting to work on referring clients prior to release so that they know what other services we provide. Because just besides the transportation, we've got a food bank here that passes out about 5,000 pounds every Friday. We serve about 1,500 to 2,000 hot meals during the week to the community. Monday through Thursday from 11:30 to 12:30 is a hot lunch. And then on Fridays, we have what we call a community drop-in here on site. And we have Council for the Homeless here, Goodwill Job Connections, a person that, well, a team that hands out the free government cell phones. We support, so what we do during the week is provide mainly employment and housing support through our case managers. But Friday during that drop-in, we drop everything we do for 2 hours to provide those services for people who normally don't qualify. Molina comes in, CHPW comes in on occasion to sign people up for medical care. And let's see, who else? Recovery cafes here, Exchange Recovery has been coming by, 40 Recovery will show up. So really it's kind of like a mini quarterly community event, but we do that every Friday. And with that 10 to 12 drop in, there's also a hot meal that goes with that. Because, you know, providing food access is, I think, an important need to maybe get people through the door and discover that, hey, one, these people care about us, and two, you're offering other services too. Maybe they'll engage in behavioral health.
Great, excellent. Well, Carl, thank you. Are there any other questions for Carl? Echo?
Yeah, hi, I'm Echo. I'm also with Indivisible. And I was just checking to see if you are also working with NAMI and CVAN for basically making sure that even if you can't take people in, you can refer people to other organizations that can help. I volunteered a little with NAMI before, and the peer counseling over the phone was really helpful for a lot of people.
Nice. So I do have a contact from NAMI who I'm trying to set up an agency-wide, for our agency, crisis de-escalation training. CVAN, I haven't even thought about reaching out and working with them, so I appreciate that. Yeah, and I appreciate if, I don't know if there's, I mean, we have a website, so that's one way to get in touch with me. And then, you know, I would love to just continue to foster all these collaborative relationships because, you know, I think when we wrap around services around the community, one, we don't waste resources, and two, I think we better serve the people.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, there are no other questions. Thank you for your presentation and for staying on to answer our questions. It was, I think, really valuable to have that.
Yes, thank you.
Great day. So if the finance team is ready, we can move on to the next agenda item, which is the all funding finance report. Who we got to talk about that? Is that you or?
Looks like Rhonda is online and she will get us started. Rhonda, I'm just pulling up the expense report for you and let me know when you're ready to go to the revenue report and then the charts on the slides.
Okay, you know what I didn't plan for was that it's teeny tiny on the screen. I should have pulled it up from the from the
I
Teams chat.
can
So
absolutely zoom in if that.
let's see. Abby, do you have that email
Yes.
handy that I could just pull up real quick? Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, sorry.
And I can pull up the actual docs. Sorry.
Did zooming in on the screen help?
Yeah, that helps. That does. Okay. I'm still going. Oh, Alyssa, love you. She just emailed it to me.
Perfect.
So
Thanks, Alyssa.
I'll get that in just a second. That'll be a lot easier than because even when you zoom it in, I only see half of it. So anyway, I'll introduce myself while I'm waiting for that to pop up on my screen from Alyssa. I'm Rhonda Hills. Alyssa is in the background. We are the finance team for the community action programs and the homeless response network. And anyway, I will be doing the presentation and she will be jumping in. And of course, I still don't have that email. I thought that would buy me a little time. Okay. All right. Well, so what you have in front of you is our semi-annual expense report, and it just popped up. And basically, it's going to show you what we have spent through December 2025. And let's see. I'm going to zoom in. Okay. So at the very top is our community action programs. That is the work that I do along with Abby. And we have our our Share Meal and Nutrition programs, the Save First Financial Wellness Program, 211 Info, Clark County Volunteer Lawyers, the New Life Recovery Services that we just heard about today, and also the Community Foundation for Southwest Washington Social Justice and Resiliency Fund. As you can see, those are funded with our CSBG programs, Human Service Fund, and a little bit of the deed recording fees. And our this does say CSBG proviso funds because we used to have those. Unfortunately, we no longer have those, and so those are currently being funded by our DCS administration funds. We felt like that was an important enough process to help serve the underserved communities to put some of our administration dollars towards it. It looks like everybody's, if you look to the far right, as far as percentage spent, it looks like most everybody's on track for spending, Share will spend out their funds first, which we appreciate because they're using our federal dollars, and we want to, get those monies out the door as soon as possible, and then they start utilizing their other funds. And so everyone else appears to be on track. As we roll down to the homeless crisis response system, it looks like, you would expect everybody to be somewhere around 50%. It looks like everybody's doing great. Council for the Homeless with their contract, CMAR, Janus Youth, Share, it looks like their outreach is running a little behind, but I'm sure that'll catch up. Looks like all the rest of these on page 2 are coming along nicely, real close to that 50% or over mark. The rent assistance for shelter services, the rent assistance prevention, same, looks like everybody's on track with their spending. Rent assistant transitional housing, I those look a little off. Alyssa, do you want to comment about those or? No?
I was trying to get my microphone to unmute. It took me clicks before I could get there.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I did say you jump in when necessary.
Yeah, so under the transitional housing, Share had one contract that was funded with majority of our HEN state funds. And based on some conversations that our program coordinators had with Share, we realized that it wasn't just a rapid rehousing program, but there was also a transitional housing aspect to it. So we split that contract into a rapid rehousing and a transitional housing program. So the transitional housing program, which we turned into like a statement of work too within that contract to, so we could have those expenses separate out and see how they were spending. That didn't start until February, I think February 2026. So it's a small amount that we put into that contract and it'll be about 4 months spending. So on the annual report that we present in November, when you see the annual spending, you'll get a true amount of the spending within that contract.
Cool. Thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah.
Okay, and then on the last page, we're still rapid rehousing, Impact Northwest. It looks like they're a little behind. Abby, do you have any input on that one?
I don't manage that program. Alyssa might have more info on that, or I can reach out to Kayla and Elise and follow up with the board.
Okay. I mean, they are spending. I just was, looking at this from perspective of someone who's not doing the contracts. I was just curious, so I figured everyone else might be too. And then the permanent supportive housing looks like it's on track for everybody. Then there's a severe weather response. I don't know if Alyssa would like to talk about that or not. I'm not familiar with the program.
Well, the severe weather response, it was communicated by the counselors as well as needs within the community to have severe weather shelters, emergency shelters when there was an activation for heat or cold. So we used some of our reserve funding, and that's why all the spending is in the other column. And each of the contracts within the descriptions, I know it's really small, and I think everybody will have an emailed copy and you can dig into it a little bit more if you want to. It explains what each one of these do and the amounts that's funded and how much they've spent to date. The majority of them, like I said, are for severe weather response. And we did 2-year contracts with them. They did start late. It was something we were in process of getting together and starting. So they didn't start until November, but we did get them started before the cold weather hit so that we would have support for the community in those activation situations.
Okay, that sounds wonderful, and that explains a lot. Thanks, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then looks like permanent supportive housing is rolling along, and do we have severe weather twice?
One is cold and one is severe, but they both say severe in their description.
I think they might be two different. Is this the difference between severe weather response on a county level compared to the nighttime team? Is that the difference?
I
think
don't
it's Live
know.
Love that has the street.
Yeah, I don't know exactly the difference or level of support or what this is covering. I can reach out to Kayla to get more specific information about them. From reading the contracts, the majority of them are for activation, except for Council for the Homeless, which provides supplies for the community for severe weather situations. It's my understanding that's the only one. There has to be an activation for the other ones, so they are for overflow or an actual activation weather alert.
Okay, I think, are there any other questions about the expense report or should we move on to the revenue? Also at the bottom here, there is the acronyms. So if you need some assistance with that, it has both the provider names and the funding names, acronyms. So that will be helpful on your copies. Okay, hearing no questions on the expense report. Abby, can you move to the revenue? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so at the top of the report, we have again the community action funds. Those consist of the community services block grant, CSBG, which you all are familiar with because that is the reason for that we have our board. It's required. And so this is our federal money and our state money. And then we also have dedicated general fund dollars for the Human Service Fund. And then we have our deed recording surcharges next, in line marriage license fees, and then our grants from the state, CHG, the CHG, CHF, the HEN, the EPRAP, inflation funds, and local document recording fee support, and emergency housing funds. We also, if you note at the bottom with the House bill funds, they are collected in the year prior before being allocated to the contracts. And then, of course, we forecast as we do our RFAs for a 2 to 3 year process. And 100% of the funds are committed during the RFA process. At least we hope so based on our best projections. Alyssa does a great job. Okay, I think, Abby, we can go to the next one. There should be some graphs, right? Makes things a little easier to.
Yeah, it sounds like Rob Perkins has a question real quick.
Oh, okay.
What is the revenue report? What's the effective date there? Is it also December 2025?
That's an annual revenue collection report. So, and the local document recording fees, those are fiscal year 25. So that would be a 1-year revenue. So that's the year prior to us putting them into contracts. Since document recording fees can be unpredictable due to the housing market, we collect a year in advance before we put them into contracts. So that is the previous state fiscal year, so July to June actual revenue collections, and then the fiscal year 26 would be the 1 year, which would run 25 to 26 state year for the revenue that we expect to receive or have been awarded.
Okay, and I see a note at the bottom that says the local fiscal year, the state fiscal year, et cetera. So when you're saying that FY25, that's the fiscal year that ended in June of 2025. Okay, and then FY26 is the state fiscal year that ends in a month?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Saying goodbye to the kid. Okay. So I think we're going to get some graphs, aren't we, Abby?
Yes, here is the first one.
Okay. So this is fairly self-explanatory. It shows the various funds. Again, if you're looking to find out what the acronyms stand for, that is going to be listed on your expense report. Those big numbers are coming from mostly from the state and also the local deed recording surcharges.
And we do try, this is Alyssa again, we do try to spend out our state funds with the CHG state funds prior to spending out our local document recording fees. Our state funds are use or lose based on their fiscal year and their deadlines that they give us to spend them by. Our House bill can be carried over from year to year, any unspent funds, and we do reallocate those, and 100% are always going to be committed.
Any questions about this report?
We have one question asking for a copy of the presentation and we'll go.
Yes, I'll share a copy of the presentation with the meeting follow-up email.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, next slide, please. Ooh, I just covered it up. Okay, I love this one. This one is the funding sources that you saw all listed on the revenue report, and this is a graph of them. I'm sorry, an expenditure report and how we're spending the money. And 39% of the funds are going into
the shelter services.
Shelter services. It's hard to see the colors. There it is.
I was looking at
Alyssa.
numbers to match them up because I was having a hard time with colors.
Yeah,
too.
good. 21% is going to the rent assistance prevention. About 16.7% is going to rapid rehousing, and then down the line. So I like to start with the big numbers first. I'm starting from the bottom. A lot of rent assistance, which would be expected. I think severe weather response, of course, will, since it didn't start until November, of course, that will pick up. Any questions? I think this presents it pretty well. A lot easier than reading that detailed expense report. Okay, next slide, Abby. Yeah, here's our revenue report. Big chunk from the state. And like Alyssa mentioned, we definitely want to spend that first. That's our grants. We want to show our need. We want to show the legislature, that we, we're committed to serving our community in the best way possible. And we're going to spend whatever money they send our way. Then we have a local, those are the deed recording surcharges and the human service fund, and our federal following that with our CSBG federal funds. At 2%.
Were those numbers, was the federal contribution higher in the past?
No,
I know.
we wish it was. We'd love to have more money for this. This is always an ask. It was supported this year, in the legislature, which it hasn't always been. I mean, I think this group is finally catching on to the fact that those federal monies are what are keeping all the community action agencies alive. Not necessarily for us because we're county government. We're one of the few. There's only 3 of us in the state, but the not-for-profit community action agencies use their CSBG monies to basically administer all the rest of the funding to their communities. So, it's really vital to them.
And if I can jump in, it's Alyssa again. If you're referring to the reports in the past, that federal number was a lot higher because we had COVID funds, and those were federal funds. And we spent the last little bit out prior to July 1st, when this report was ran, we had a little bit of ARPA money left, and that was 15.5 million. So that would bump up this graph a lot, taking the COVID funds into consideration, but those are all spent out now.
And,
I'm sorry if I
before- yeah.
misunderstood the question. I thought you were
No,
asking if CSBG was a lot higher.
No, this is more historical, so, before the COVID funds, were passed, was it still a 2% kind of share?
It has always been around 2%, without the COVID money. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, no, wait a minute though. I guess because we're getting a lot more state money than we used to, it may have appeared more like 5 or 6% in the past. Now that I think about it. But dollar amount wise, it's not keeping up with the cost of living on what we're receiving in our federal CSBG.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Another slide.
It is going up, but it's not keeping up.
Right. I know how that is.
Okay. Except about 750,000, and the homeless crisis response, 19 million. That's why those dollars are hard to come by, and we'd love more, but it is what it is. There are people fighting for those monies, with nationally. So, they do their very best. Okay. Yeah, we have an annual audit. The last audit we had that's been finalized was 2024. And the report was issued on September 15th. There were no findings identified for the entire county, which is wonderful. And of course, there were no findings for community services. Yay. We are in process of the 2025 audit. Right now, the state auditors are on site. They are currently working on the financial audit side of things. We have heard from them on some risk assessments on our grants. As far as I know, Alyssa, jump in. I am just back from, my mom had to have surgery, unfortunately. So I've been gone a week. And I haven't been through my emails because we had this first thing. As far as I know, we have not heard what potential grants would be audited, this year by the state auditors for community services. I do know that they did ask a lot of questions this year, surprisingly, about some of we call these B grants, the smaller federal grants for the community action programs, which of course is CSBG, weatherization, mainly, and they'd also, of course, look at LIHEAP, and ask risk assessments for those. But so far, I haven't heard anything about it. I was a little surprised that they were delving into these smaller grants more than in the past. So I don't know. We haven't been audited for CSBG in a very long time because, of course, it's such a small dollar amount, and they're the state auditors are looking for risk and coverage when they're doing their testing. So we'll see what happens. It could be. Okay. Stay
Any
tuned.
questions?
We'll know more at the
Rhonda?
next meeting that we meet in November.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Rhonda? Sure.
Okay, I'm Echo with Indivisible. It is an El Nino year. I'm just making sure that spending for cataclysmic wet weather is also covering the likely drought.
At this time, I think the specific severe weather funds, most of them were targeted towards cold weather. There in the past has been some funding for severe hot weather as well, but I'm not 100% sure what that's looking like this summer. Alyssa, do you have more info about that? If not, I'm happy to reach out to Kayla and see more specifics about what's going on in the homeless crisis response system there.
I know at least a couple of the severe weather contracts cover hot and cold weather whenever there is an activation due to the severe weather, regardless if it's hot or cold. But yeah, I can reach out to Kayla and get additional information about that.
I have a
Thank
little
you.
bit to add. As part of our LIHEAP program, we do have a cooling program where we offer individual air conditioning units to folks who meet the requirements, their low income requirements for LIHEAP. They also can qualify for individual air conditioning units for their units. And of course, they're prioritized for folks who are elderly and families with small children.
Thank you.
And we are actually starting our program a month earlier than we have in the past. So that is good too. It is true that it appears we are warming up much more than we have in the past, up here. So it is nice that we have this cooling program. It's been in place for 3 or 4 years now, right, Abby?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Rhonda.
Yes.
Alyssa, thank you for the presentation.
Welcome.
See you back again in November, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh,
And I wanted to let you know before we go on, I just heard back, I sent the program a quick Teams chat to ask if our severe weather contracts covered a drought, and the response was yes.
Yay. Thank you, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the City of Vancouver Affordable Housing and Homelessness Update. Tasha Slater, you here? Or is it Smith? Tasha, okay.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so the housing team with the City of Vancouver has 3 main updates today. We have completed, or we're in the final stages of our 2026 HUD funding. I have a bridge shelter update and North Plain for All update. Let me go to the next slide. I'll just get started talking about, there we go. So 2026 CDBG Community Development Block Grant and Home Awards were approved by Council on May 11th, and we submitted our draft plan to HUD on May 15th, and they'll have 30 days to approve it into a final plan. We are, with that funding, supporting 2 programs, Counts for the Homeless and Fosterful, for our housing stability and poverty reduction funding, and that'll serve about 324 people. With Economic Opportunity, we are funding Business Impact Northwest, Fourth Plane Forward, and Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber for 176 businesses. We also have a contract with the Community Foundation for capacity building for 5 agencies. We are doing a rental assistance program and funding 2 agencies, Janice and Share, who will serve 45 households. We're also doing a down payment assistance with Proud Ground, who will serve 3 households. And then homeless supportive services, we're doing 3 contracts, one with Counts for the Homeless, one with Outsiders In, and one with Live Love. Okay, next slide. A bridge shelter is scheduled to open winter 2026. Construction is expected to be completed in the fall. For those of you that may not know, in 2023, the city declared a homeless emergency, and a key component of the city's emergency response action plan includes opening the bridge shelter, which is expected to have up to 120 beds. And will provide medication assisted treatment and other supportive services to help people transition to stable housing. And then next slide. We are, as part of our fourth plan for all funding, 100,000 has been allocated to mobile home repair. So we're expecting to have 6 mobile homes assisted. The first one will be completed this month, and that's the picture on the pictures on the right. On the left-hand side is the before, and on the right-hand side is on the is the after. You can see that there was no gutters in the before, and there was a lot of water damage, and so we're able to kind of help with things like the exterior side repairs. And actually, I was just in a meeting with our rehab specialist, and he was saying if this water damage had happened for 3 or 4 more years, the whole unit would not be habitable. So this project's been really great to kind of build up these mobile homes and on fourth plane. So those are my 3 big updates. Does anyone have any questions or need any more information?
Are there any questions for Don? Well, hearing none, I thank you for the update.
Yeah, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a task force updates. Our different task force members. I wonder if you could help broker that. We'll start with legislative advocacy.
Yeah, I do have a legislative update coming up next, but do any members of the legislative advocacy task force have anything to share? All right, hearing none, we can wait for the update on the next slide. For community needs assessment, I can take this one. So the needs assessment survey closed at the end of March, and we received over 1,700 responses, which is incredible. It's a new record, almost double what we received last time. So thank you all so much for your hard work to get the survey out to the community and help spread the word. Right now we're working with a data consultant to help analyze the data and starting to think about community forums for this fall. So once we have all the data back from the consultant, we'll put together data to share back with the community and host a series of forums, probably I'm guessing in like September or October, but I'm still working to get those scheduled, and we'll be sure to reach out to you all once we have specific dates and locations for those. I'm really excited to see, the results of this survey, what we're seeing as the top needs in the community this round. And again, thank you all so much for your help to break our record on survey collection. And then do any members of the team building work group have any updates to share? I think that's Rob, Rondalyn, and Clover. I don't think you guys have met since last meeting, have you?
Not since the last meeting, we haven't met.
Again, happy to help coordinate a meeting for that group and provide an update. After the
Yeah, I
meeting.
mean, that would be great. I will say, just to kind of highlight,
Go ahead.
hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I wanted to, that would be helpful if we could get some support coordinating. I just wanted to highlight to everyone that we have had these really good in-depth conversations on what would be helpful for us in reference to just continuing a lot of the educational components that took place last year. And we've come up with some really awesome ideas. I think the big thing is, and I say this, let me be a little bit more human. I've been going and going this morning, and I don't know what my camera looks like or if it's going to work today.
Switched on.
I was going to
Looks
try.
like
There it goes.
there you go.
Okay, there it goes. But just a human-centered approach here. We know the impact of this committee and what we are responsible for as we prepare and get ready for this next round of funding and reviewing. We want to make sure we're bringing our best selves forward and an informed base forward. And a lot of that does involve us taking that extra initiative to learn more, expose ourselves to other components, whether it's cultural, all these different components that impact our county. And I will say it's been great working with Robin, Clover, just kind of having these conversations about what we could bring forth as some good team or group standards when it comes to doing this work. I'm sure everybody got a lot on their plate, so we're not trying to add more, and we're really trying to be conscious of people's schedules. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that this is a necessity, especially as we get closer to time, and time moves so fast. I don't know if y'all noticed that. I feel like I just joined like 2 weeks ago, and then I'm realizing we're like well into almost another year. So just taking that into consideration, we are going to be sending out some communications, sharing potential options for us as a committee, and maybe we can vote on that before our next meeting or vote through email, things of that nature. But we really need y'all to check your emails and engage. That's really what all of this is for. Just check the emails, send us a thumbs up, a heart back. Abby has been doing a great job supporting us, and I really appreciate you for that. But we know for us to make this happen, we gotta show up just a little extra over the next couple of months to get this solidified and going. So thanks for tuning into my TED Talk. Y'all are awesome, and I will do my best to see y'all in person at our next meeting.
Thanks, Bronwyn.
Thank you, Bronwyn. And also while we're on task force, just a reminder that we are still working to form that RFA task force that some folks requested. I now have 3 volunteers for that committee. So that should be enough to get us started, but if anyone else is interested in joining, please let me know. So far, it sounds like it's gonna be Faye, Nakia, and Kit. But if anyone else who's not affiliated with an organization who's coming in to apply for funds wants to be more involved in helping develop the next RFA, let me know. And I'm happy to set up a meeting to start talking about what that looks like. Any other thoughts on task force? All right, then I will go ahead and share a legislative advocacy update. So WASCAP, the Washington State Community Action Partnership, there are state advocates for community action. They are working to build out their legislative strategy and are looking for community action board members who are interested in meeting with legislators to discuss issues on the WASCAP legislative agenda during future legislative sessions. And in order to do this, they're conducting a survey to better understand where members of the network live and work so they can effectively connect with legislators across the state, especially in cases like district meetings and events like Lobby Day. Legislators have started prioritizing coming directly to their districts to hear from constituents. So WASCAP's working to build out essentially a living advocacy map of the network so they can be more thoughtful and strategic in how they engage with legislators during those times. So the survey that they're doing asks about where you live, as well as top areas of expertise or focus, so they can do targeted and quick outreach during legislative sessions. If you're interested in signing up as an advocate in the Westcott Network, let me know and I'll share the survey with you. Just a note that if you do participate in any advocacy, as a member of the CAB, you also need to follow any legislative guidance from the county council. So let me know if you're interested, and I'll be sure to connect you with the county's policy analyst, Jordan Bogey, and he can help guide any advocacy efforts. And I'll include some of this information in the follow-up email as well. But please do let me know if you're planning to fill out that survey so I can get you connected with the right folks, and we can track any advocacy that you do with Westcott moving forward. Any questions on that?
Hi, I'm Echo, it's Indivisible, and I was wondering if I could get a link to that, because I know some people who would really want to do that position, or is this an internal thing?
Let me look into it a bit more. I think the message that I got is that they were looking for board members from CAB agencies who would be part of this network, but let me see if they're also interested in external folks as well, and I'd be happy to pass along the contact information.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll be sure to get your email after the meeting. All right, any other questions on this?
It says that they're CAP board members. Is it supposed to be CAP board members?
Yeah, there's so many acronyms, it's but CAP stands for Community Action Partnership. That's the network of community action agencies that do this anti-poverty work and receive community services block grant funds. CAB is the Community Action Advisory Board. So yeah, it's confusing.
Thank you.
No problem.
And that's the Washington State Community Action Partnership.
Yes.
WSCAP. I feel like that's an acronym in a lot of.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Abby. The next item is an action item. It is the nomination and vote for new vice chair. Let me start by asking you, Abby, if anyone has expressed interest to you for the position.
I haven't received interest in writing, though I did hear some verbal interest. I don't want to speak for members, so if the member who was potentially interested in volunteering for this position wants to speak up, feel free to do so.
Let's do it this way. Are there nominations? Well, as a backgrounder, now I have to remember the name on that.
Abby, are we hypothetically talking about, did you talk to someone?
We have a notice from Brittany Lassane.
Right.
Yeah, who's
No, I was asking Abby when from the notice from Brittany Lassane, did she messaged me recently?
Yeah, so I didn't want to speak for you, Bronwyn, in case you've had other discussions, but so everyone knows Brittany is sadly leaving the CAB. She's moving all the way across the country. And Brittany let me know, Bronwyn, that you might be interested in volunteering for the vice chair position. If that's still true. We would love to have you as a nominee.
Yes, I'm interested. Brittany called me and was like, "Hey," because she did share with us that she was leaving, and so she asked me if I would be interested, and I did say yes. I'm interested, but let me say this: if this opportunity is for me, I'm in and I'm invested, and I will do my very best to ensure we have more snacks at the meeting. That's my campaign right now.
Thank you, Bronwyn.
Bronwyn has accepted a nomination for the position of vice president. This is a term that will go till the end of the calendar year.
That's correct. So you'd be filling Brittany's position through the end of this calendar year, and then we'll vote again in December for the 2027 executive team.
Right. Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair? Don't be shy. Please. Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair? Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair? Hearing none, let's go ahead and take a formal vote. And once again, we have one nominee. All those who are in favor of appointing Brondolyn Clark as vice chair to fill the unexpired term vacated by Brittany Lassay, please use the raise hand button.
Right, looks like we have 5 hands raised. And Olga, I know you're a new member, but you are still welcome to vote on this. And I guess
So are you, Rob?
technically don't have a quorum, so I think it's probably you can vote for yourself.
Well.
Oh, I feel so bad voting for myself. I feel like that's a no-no. But if you want me to, I will.
As a member of the committee, you have a vote.
Okay.
Fair, and that makes quorum.
7.
I believe I can do it.
Yes.
Thanks, Franklin.
Okay, with 7 votes in favor of Brondolyn Clark as vice chair, you are appointed. Thank you for your interest and we'll be talking soon.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, now we've got, let's see, it's about 10:40. Looks like we might have mentioned earlier. And the next item on the agenda is a renaming of the low-income representative position to a different name. Currently,
Yeah, I'm happy to start us off for this conversation. So this is a conversation that we've had the last couple of CAB meetings. Some folks expressed an interest in renaming this position to something that either better accurately represents the position or feels more, welcoming to board members. And during our last conversation, folks asked to postpone this conversation until we could get a bit more feedback from local agencies. So I reached out to some local experts to get their opinions on this. And I had a great conversation with Shavonna McEwen at SWET. And in our conversation, she echoed what many of you said that the most important thing is to have this type of representation on the CAB, and that if a different name would help better differentiate and honor these representatives in a way that elevates the value of lived experience, then that is wonderful. But she did say that she would recommend avoiding changing it to something that would create confusion about the types of candidates that we're looking for. And ultimately, she said that those holding this title should really be the ones driving the conversation. And if folks holding the title don't have concerns about that name, then she wouldn't worry about changing it. But if those representatives are concerned, then she suggested something like lived experience representative or like resident advisor, resident trustee. And then she also encouraged me to ask the board to think about, what is the purpose of changing the title of this position and what's the purpose of titles in general. And if we do want to change it, what is it about this title that folks feel like maybe doesn't garner respect? And, just considering whatever bias to bring to this conversation and So I will pass it back to you all for discussion on if folks think that this title needs to be changed, and if so, what a good alternative title would be.
Okay, let's open a discussion on the matter. Would like to speak first? Ronald's hand is up.
That was for the vote, sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, my hand is still up. Do we remember who championed this?
I believe this conversation was initiated by Diana Perez, who is not here today. So if the folks in the meeting want to continue having this conversation, we have plenty of time to do so. We can also postpone it again, whatever you all think.
I think, and I realize there's a little bit of peril having the chair speak first, but I think we had some suggestions that they're on the slide there. And the thing that resonates with me the most right now, given the advice that Abby's gone to get, is resident advocate.
I would have to agree. I do appreciate that insight and being able to get that perspective from SWEC, but tell me her name one more time. I just went blank. Oh, Shavonna.
Yeah.
Yes, getting that perspective and insight from Shavonna is very helpful, and I think it will be very imperative to any future representatives or individuals interested in participating for it to be a comprehensive title. And I think the closest thing we would have on this that isn't too much jargon, but like clear and understanding that this person should come from that community, resident advocate.
I see Councilor Young's hand raised as well.
Yes, thank you. I would just say, to be completely honest, like I absolutely appreciate the thought behind this and the intent, but I don't see any of these being accurate. So accurately representing the actual position and the need that we're trying to fulfill on this board. I agree with Shavonna's thought process on that, and I don't see any here that I would support replacing it with.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Young. And just as a reminder on that note, on the slide, we have the definition for this position, which is required by federal regulations. And that is that a minimum 1/3 of tripartite board membership must be democratically selected representatives of low-income individuals and families who reside in the geographic area being served by the agency. So I agree that we do want to still make sure that the title of this position is clear about the type of representative that we're looking for on the board. Did you have a comment, Echo?
Yeah, I do. I'm Echo from Indivisible, and I actually applied to be a low income representative. And as someone who applied that way, low income advocate would have actually made it more appealing to apply, because it's still keeping the low income, which is a completely reasonable phrase, but also saying you're not just representing, you're advocating, so that there's a measure more help, like help bringing your community to it rather than representing them and speaking for them.
Okay.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah, thank you for your insight.
Saw the heart emoji come up from Ronald. Any other comments or thoughts, please?
I don't know if you need me to say this extra, but I agree with what she just said. That was great. I think low income advocate is great. And when you close discussion, I can make a motion for us to move. And if someone will in a second, we might vote on that today.
Glenn, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I do. I still don't agree with that. And the reason being, low income advocate could be anybody. Anybody can advocate for the rights and, for things that folks need that are in the low income community. I think I think we're trying to be inclusive here. And that is good intention, but I think the ultimate result is less inclusive because people are going to see that title and they're not going to understand, they're not going to realize that it's specifically supposed to be somebody who is experiencing low income. So I think by changing the title of this, we actually risk losing the potential of connecting with more people and trying to fill the seat.
Well, okay, let me think about that, because the definition is, democratically selected representatives of low-income individuals and families who reside in the geographic area served by the agency. That seems to me to resonate the idea of a title like resident advocate or low-income advocate.
Yeah, and one thing that I just want to clarify, so the requirements for this position, while ideally we would love for this position to be filled by people who themselves have low incomes and bring that lived experience, the requirements is only that they are democratically represented by or democratically selected by people with low incomes or by an agency that primarily serves people with low incomes. So a few of the folks on this board who fill this position are people who work for an agency that serves people with low incomes and were democratically nominated by the board of that agency to serve that, to represent that group. So not everyone who holds this position is personally living with a lower income. Though we do try to prioritize representatives with that lived experience when we can only have those applicants.
So thank you for that clarification. That makes a big difference. With that, I think then actually low income advocate would fit very well.
Okay. Heidi's here.
Yeah, I was gonna echo what Glenn had said and say that in honoring what the woman you talked to said, I think that if we struggle with low income representative, maybe we need to look at why we struggle. Like, is it our innate bias to calling someone low income like it's a dirty word or something like that? But I think, given your clarification, I agree that the low income advocate fits the whole thing, and we can avoid talking about whether we are uncomfortable calling somebody low income. Not that that's the intention. I don't know.
But I think it's important to think about.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other comments or suggestions on the matter? Before we ask for a motion? Glenn, your hand is still up.
Sorry about that. I forgot to take it down.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments then? Okay, so action on this item would require a motion from a member of the committee.
I motion to move forward. This is Clover.
You're motioning to move forward. Could you
With the vote?
Well,
with the
I need a
vote
motion.
on the name.
I need a motion, essentially to rename low-income representative to something else.
Yes, let's rename it to low income advocate. So motion
Okay.
to vote on that.
Clover Spears has moved to rename the position currently titled low-income representative to low-income advocate. Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to rename the position currently titled low-income representative to low-income advocate. Within the members of the committee still here, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Please use the raise hand button. All those in favor, click on raise hand now. Olga, do you have a vote? Okay. Thank you. It appears we have, okay, and lower your hands?
Yeah, that's everyone.
Are there any opposed at this time? Raise your hand. Okay, with a vote of 6-0, it appears the motion has carried. And the position is renamed to low income advocate. Thank you all for your attention to this. Really appreciated the way the committee held a discussion on this and leadership that folks have provided. And I appreciate the input that the Southwest Washington Equity Commission Coalition was able to give through Shalana McHugh. Appreciate that deeply. Okay. Well, we're going to end early. The next item on the agenda is our open public forum. Open public forum is a time for any member of the public to speak for up to 3 minutes on matters of public concern. I'll go ahead and open that now to ask members of the public who would like to speak to the Community Action Advisory Board.
You guys seem to be doing great.
Yeah, pretty great.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak?
No.
Any members of the public who wish to speak? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the open public forum portion of our meeting and move to other business. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 27th, 1 to 3 p.m. And it'll be held here at the, I'm just having such a hard time with names of things.
Center for Community Health.
The Center for Community Health, and it will be online over WebEx. I'm relatively reassured that there will be snacks.
With Bronwyn.
With Bronwyn, our new vice president. And I appreciate all of you for coming to the meeting and for participating like this. Are there any other items for the good of the order?
I just want to let you all know that I will actually not be here for the next meeting, but Rebecca Royce, who used to manage this board, will be here, and she is excited to see all the folks that she hasn't seen in a while, and you will all be in great hands.
We sure will. Any other items for the good of the order?
Looks like Bronwyn's hand is up.
Bronwyn?
Just if anyone has any specific allergies or anything I need to be fully aware of, please let Abby know. And Abby, what would maybe a good deadline, or me know? I'm no preference, but I just want to make sure I have something for everyone.
Thank you, Bronwyn. That's very thoughtful.
Bronwyn, you might be leading this meeting. I've been told we're going out of town. I'll try to WebEx in if I can. Okay. Hearing no other business. The time is 10:39 a.m. and the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question that I
Oh, yeah, you